Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the NFL podcast, Laces Out. Well, it's that time of the year. And I know I say that a lot, but it is that time of the year, and that time is the Super Bowl is locked, ladies and gents. More importantly than that, obviously the biggest game of the year is coming this weekend. I'm sure everybody's going to be watching that. Before we get started, please consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review, where you can leave a review. If you like the NFL, perhaps you know somebody that likes the NFL. And if you do, send this podcast their way and say, hey, check this out. Obviously, we've got a generous back catalogue for them to check out if they're new. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, Laces Out.
Well. Here we go. This is the, I was going to say penultimate, but it's like episode before the episode before the episode. The season is essentially over. The playoffs have concluded, and they have delivered to us like a bouncing baby boy a brand spanking new Super Bowl. It's not that new. We have seen it before, but not in this version. And it'll be interesting to say the least. But that is jumping ahead. First things first, I need to say for you lovely audio listeners, I am not alone. I haven't been alone all season, which I think could be a record. I am joined by my glamorous co-host, Miss Paul Williams, to take you
Guten Tag.
The conference championship games, and that's it, because there's no football this weekend at all that anybody's going to want to talk about ever, and we've all got a week off. We've got a week off from having to worry about football and worrying about who's going to win and losing money on any bets and doubling down and losing money on the fucking UFC as well. And we don't have to worry about it this weekend. We can, save our precious pennies. And then we'll talk next week about the actual game that people care about. So I'm joined by Paul Williams. How are you, sir? How do you feel?
So I've literally just been having this conversation with Stuart Woodmansey, obviously
Never heard of it.
Podcast alum, a name that we're all familiar with from the wrestling podcast and the football podcast, and sometimes this podcast, and sometimes the BS podcast. There's plenty of pies that man has his fingers in.
Woodmansey, you say? No.
Yeah. I might have even covered it on the podcast when we've discussed it previously. I don't know why, but I almost felt like I lost interest in this postseason the second the Bills lost against the Broncos, and I really don't know why, because I don't class myself as a Bills fan. I really bought into there's no Chiefs, there's no Bengals. This is Josh Allen's time, and when that narrative stopped being the case, it felt like a little part of me died inside, which is just weird.
There is a large part of me that wants to be like, don't be silly, but I am with you 100%. I am leading the charge on that one. The Bills losing was a punch to the solar plexus of, I think, us all collectively. I think whatever way you want to look at it. I had a conversation with a guy in the office the other day who said he was a Chiefs fan, and I was like, yet as a Chiefs fan, was very much like, yeah, Bills, baby. So I was like, yeah, I think even even a Chiefs fan or an Eagles fan or anybody at this point in time, barring maybe, I don't know, the Patriots fans, would have been like, yeah, Bills all day. Because I don't want to diminish anything, but it is what you've said. No Chiefs, no Bengals, no Ravens, no, like all of the like real contender level teams were nowhere in sight. This was their time. They were the chosen one. They were the one. They were going to go. They were going to get it done. They were going to walk away. And honestly, and again, I hate to say this, but honestly, if they'd have won and never won it again, never gone back to the dance, never even got close, in some way it would have been enough. The validation of the whole thing, it was their time. And then it wasn't. And now something I'll jump a little bit further forward in time to the weekend that we just had. I got very panicked one point Sunday evening where I went, "You are kidding me. We've got down to 4 teams. And it's still possible to end up with a Super Bowl that I don't want to see." And I got twitchy when the Patriots won. I went, okay, that's, as I'm sure the predictions will highlight, that's not how I saw that going, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And then the realization hit, and I went, you son of a bitch, you can still deliver a Super Bowl that I will not be wanting to sit down and watch. And I got real scared. But like I say, that's jumping ahead a little bit. I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. There was still there was still teams of interest, shall we say. In a lot of ways, been a lifelong Broncos fan, going all the way back to the 1980s. I sort of reanimated my love for the NFL through a variety of different teams, and one of those teams was absolutely the Seahawks. Legion of Boom, baby. Somebody passed comment of, "Oh yeah, Seahawks." No, I'm not spoiling anything, but oh yeah, Seahawks. Do you remember when Russell Wilson could play football? I was like, I do. It seems so long ago now, which it kind of was. So there was still something there for me as a fan of the NFL and a fan of these teams. And there was part of me that was like, I don't feel dirty rooting for this version of the Patriots this season because, I was genuinely sort of behind them, rooting for them. I was like, yeah, just, you keep going, you go. It was another reason that I was like, you go, you can do it. Because I thought they could get very far, just not too far. Let's not invoke any, you know. So there was still something there for me. There were still teams that I was like, yay. There were still teams that I was happy to see go out in glorious fashion. But there was still something there. And then I had that horrible realization that there was a possibility of a Super Bowl that I was going to spit my dummy out. I was going to say, nope, I'm not doing it. This is the one. This is the year where I vote with my wallet, and I'm not doing it. I'm not going to watch. Make my feelings known and all of that. But when the Bills went out, that press conference where Josh Allen just couldn't get his words out, I felt every moment of it. I was like, but you were going to do it. You were going to get it done. You're going to be the guy. Fuck.
I think it is that sort of that coming to the realization of the further it goes into his career, there is that likelihood that he does go like Dan Marino. And I know that Dan Marino went to the Super Bowl, but he goes down as like, one of, if not the best to never have won it.
Yeah.
And obviously he's now over 30.
Yeah.
I think anyway. He might have been over 30 last season, but let's just double check. So, I mean, that's not to say that he's not, still a great player. Obviously he is.
My concern is I felt that the Bills this season may have just been on the cusp of just about holding a team together that would get it done, that were able to get it done. And the off season does horrible things to teams. You can be a playoff contender, you can be a Super Bowl contender, and you can return the year after and be absolute dog shit. Washington Commanders. So
if you think about it, you look at like probably the team that was more like one of the favourites to win it this season was probably the Detroit Lions.
Yeah,
and they finished bottom of their division.
Yeah,
and that's all because they lost their offensive coordinator. Might have lost the defensive coordinator as well, but it was definitely one of those situations where like too much has changed in that building, and it's caused the team to be like completely sort of like unsettled, and they've gone from being the number one seed to not making the playoffs. So yeah, it'll be an interesting offseason. Just to wrap up the Josh Allen thing, he will turn 30 this May. So obviously that might be playing on his mind as well. The fact that he's turning 30, does that sort of start to mess with his mind a little bit? Like I said, shouldn't really, because in this coming off season, he will become a father.
He'll be a dad by the next season.
That he'll be a dad by the time the next season starts. So he's going to have other priorities. That's not to say that he'll take his eye off the ball with football, but his world will have changed. So my eyes will be on the Bills, very much so in the off season. Let's put it that way.
Not gonna lie, some news has come out this evening that I don't feel very strong about. The Bills decided to part ways with their coach, which I believe was met with some criticism, quite extensive criticism, to the point that 10,000 or 40,000 Bills fans signed a petition to reinstate him. The Bills organization promptly took the choice to completely ignore that petition and move forward by hiring a head coach who was an internal hire. Some would say a promotion by essentially promoting their offensive coordinator to head coach position. Don't feel super strong about that kind of thing. I was going to send a message to our little group and just say, is it me, or does the NFL coaching situation always feel like the WWE, that there's like 5 guys who can only do that job, and they will be doing that job until they're carried out in a pine box? Because, I'm sure the Undertaker's due for a return at some point. And it just feels like they've got like this tiny pool of people who are like, you can be a head coach. The 8 billion people on this planet can't. Not one of them could do this job. But you can. I'm always like, you tell me there's nobody else out there, no other prospects, nobody else who's like, pretty sure I could give it a good crack. But anyway, yes, I also will be watching the Bills with a one eye on the ball kind of situation, just to see what pans out, see if there are any big moves. The biggest move at the moment is I'm seeing a lot of chitter chatter around the Ravens offering up big for one Mr. Joseph Burrows, apparently. They're offering picks and money and basically their entire roster's firstborn children to make what they're saying is a fairly decent play for Joe Burrows. I wonder how Lamar Jackson feels. Oh. Anyway, let's get into the games. I feel like we have the opportunity to really drill down into the two games that we were offered at the weekend. It will come as no surprise that I have thoughts and feelings.
Well, of the two games that we predicted last week, obviously, we'll go to the second one first. So the Rams at the Seahawks was potentially the Super Bowl that people wanted to see, but obviously couldn't happen because it's two NFC teams. But of the four teams left in it, I imagine most people would have been happy if this was been determined.
If there was a way that they could have done it and been like, "Here, look,
exactly.
Just this once, we're going to give you this game as your Super Bowl. Take it."
Exactly. We both backed the Seahawks. They did come through, so we got 1 point for that particular game. Now, it was the AFC Championship where we had our difference of opinion. And even obviously before all of the snow and stuff that kind of ruined this game, the game was obviously ruined by the fact that Bo Nix broke his ankle in one of the final plays in the Bills-Broncos game the week before.
Indeed.
And wouldn't play any further part in the remainder of the season. So the Broncos obviously went into this knowing they had to play behind backup quarterback Jarrett Stidham.
Can I just say this? Backup quarterback who was clearly like, I could get a job out of this game. I could get like a deal somewhere. So I'm going to play my absolute socks off because he looked really good. I was really like the number of runs where he was just like, "Yeah, sorry, I'm off," and just ran. Like you are clearly playing for a job next season. Maybe not probably not in Denver, but maybe somewhere.
Yes, indeed. So obviously he started the game really well, threw a touchdown when to take the lead 7-0. After that, it didn't go quite as well. Obviously, his attempt to get rid of the ball resulted in a lateral, which the Patriots picked up, ran into the end zone, and obviously that would have been determined to be a defensive score, but the play had already been whistled down. Upon replay, they determined that he had indeed passed the ball backwards, so it was a lateral. And the ball was turned over to the Patriots. And from that point onwards, it was kind of one-way sailing. Patriots took advantage, scored the touchdown. Drake May rushed in for the touchdown. They then kicked a field goal. And then the snow came. And it was over as a contest at that point. And the most depressing thing from like a neutral's perspective is the fact that the Patriots won and Drake May had worse stats in the game than Jarrett Stidham did.
Yeah,
isn't great.
Of the two games, this is one that I had the most to say about. As far as the Rams Seahawks game, great, wonderful. Watching the Patriots Broncos and the fact that the Patriots came out the victor versus watching the Rams Seahawks and looking at that freaking Seahawks team. Oh, every time there was a play, it was like, oh, I'm sorry, did you forget we had this player? Because this is Cooper Cup, and he used to play for your team. Oh, that's a touchdown right there. Honestly, their defense was, they were having the time of their lives, just tearing it up. The fact that it looked like the Seahawks had a magic bag, and they were like, we just found this player. Where did this guy come from? Oh my God, I can't believe it. We forgot we had, hey, get out there and score a touchdown. God. Oh, we need a dominant running back who is obviously trying to make a, I don't want to put too many words in too many mouths here, but Marshawn Lynch-esque run at things. And yeah, he was certainly delivering. It was a thing of beauty to watch. And on the other side, you've got, if you take the second half of the Broncos-Patriots game out, you don't lose anything. Yes, we can talk about a series of missed field goals, but the weather was horrific. Like watching that first half going, yeah, it's just football, isn't it? Watching the second half going, fucking hell, man, how do they, how do they do it? How do they play? Etc. My concern, when you were saying, like, let's have the Ramsey off, let's take it as one off, let's have that as our Super Bowl. My concern is twofold. One involves a tinfoil hat, and the other involves what we saw at the weekend. What we saw at the weekend was we've been given what didn't look like the best team. The best team won, or the worst team lost. It's yet another one of those situations. We got the Patriots. The Patriots have been great this season, but we have said on the podcast in the last certainly few weeks, they're showing some real cracks, some like chasm-sized cracks at this point in time. And on the other side of the ball, you've got the Seahawks, which look like a well-oiled, well-tuned, well-polished, just a team that is going to deliver, and they're going to do it in 30 minutes or less. You put those two teams either side of the ball, and the theory is that it's like 46-6. Putting my tinfoil hat on for a second, my fear is that we're going to get a backwards and forwards game with a third team playing along in their white and black uniforms. Every year we've done 8 seasons of this podcast, and we've been talking NFL football for a lot longer than that. Every year I want the absolute best team from one side going up the absolute best team from the other side. I want 46-44, or I want 6-10. Those are my options, and I want the 6-10 to be the absolute best game you've ever seen with the lowest score, and I want the 44-46 to be just an absolute barn burner. Those are the things that I want from my Super Bowl. That's what I want. And I think that in a sense of this team beat this team, and this team beat this team, and that team, and these teams rose and rose and rose and rose and rose to deliver the Super Bowl. I am just like, I don't know that that's what we get year in, year out. But anyway, the Broncos Patriots game worried me. Not as much as as I worried that I was going to have to sit down and watch Patriots Rams, but I feel sick saying it. Watch the Rams buy another Super Bowl. Yay. Anyway.
Yeah. So obviously that was the Patriots Broncos game was the only one that we picked differently.
We did.
Sadly for Mr. Cook, he did pick the Broncos. So Andy only got 1 of 2 points correct. I did pick the Patriots, so I got the clean sweep and got both games correct. So that gives me the win, as it were. Moved me on to 13.5 points for the season. Left Andy on 7.5 points for the season. Overall, 284 games predicted so far. Andy has predicted 182 correctly. I've predicted 189 correctly. Side bet. Obviously, we only had one team to take each. Andy took the Seahawks, and I took the Patriots, which meant that Andy moved on to 50 from a possible 79. I moved on to 61 from a possible 79. So we'll see. We'll obviously do the ceremonial picks when it comes to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, obviously our Super Bowl show
there might be
is a bigger one. It's we've got to put our order in. Obviously,
that'll be next week. Obviously, we haven't had a guest on all season.
We have not. Let's not break that streak now.
The Super Bowl show is slightly different, of course. So we may not saying that we will. We may potentially have some guests on next week to sort of break it down and go through it. And obviously,
my agent,
the more people that come on,
has been on the phone with Marshawn Lynch's people, and they were like, "Who the fuck are you?" So.
So we may
Tom
have
Brady
some
said,
guests.
"Give me 75 million and I'll give you 5 minutes." And I said, "I'm just going to nip to the bank."
So we may have some guests making some predictions. We may not. So to wrap up this week, we do have a couple of stats. And to be fair, before Andy jumps in and gives the first stat, there was actually something that did pop up in that AFC Championship game, and Andy did mention the fact that there were missed field goals. And I believe they said it was the first time that there had been 2 or more missed kicks in a conference championship game since 1991. Really? So it had been that many years since multiple kicks were missed in the same game.
Very quickly.
Championship game.
Very quickly. And there's a reason that I asked you this. Drake May is the second youngest quarterback to go to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Can you name the youngest?
I don't think I can. I know the youngest to win it. I know the youngest to win it is Ben Roethlisberger.
I will give you a clue. You have mentioned his name on this podcast.
As in today.
Today.
I can't even think who I've mentioned.
He was once
Dan Marino. Dan Marino.
There you go. Quarterback to ever do it. Okay, so this is NFL. So the short version is the stats mistress. She went off. She came back. She's like, "Bad news. There aren't any." I went, "Don't tell me that." She said, "It's a thing." And I was like, "I seem to remember this time last year it was a thing." She rooted and, like a raccoon in a bin, found us 2 stats. We shared them between us. It didn't take long. However, I will say this to make up for it, she's already doing the stats for the Super Bowl show, so don't fret. So, just to wrap up, NFL Conference Week stats and draft towards the Super Bowl week. I don't think we need that bit just yet. We'll hang fire, keep that powder dry. So, here we go. My individual stats is the New England Patriots faced the Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship for the 3rd time, the first since the days of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Following Denver's Bo Nix fractured ankle at the end of last week's game, Jarrett Stidham got the start against MVP candidate Drake May. The result, the Patriots outlasted the Broncos in the snow to win 10-7. Not sure how much of a stat that really is, more just a statement. Don't know if yours is any better.
Well, in the NFC, the Seattle Seahawks faced the Los Angeles Rams following their previous matchup on December the 18th, which featured a thrilling fourth quarter comeback that ended with Sam Darnold completing a game-winning 2-point conversion in overtime. That came a month after Matthew Stafford threw 2 touchdown passes to lead the LA Rams over the Seahawks in Los Angeles. The result of the NFC title game? As we've discussed, the Seahawks slid past the Rams in a high-scoring NFC Championship game, winning 31-27. Yeah, we were saying this amongst our group. It was almost the second that Bo Nix went down, when the schedule came out, I was just praying that the AFC Championship game was the late one, and they were going to do the NFC Championship game first, because with the exception of a bit of a miracle happening, everyone knew that the Patriots were going through from that game. And it came to pass that I didn't really have any interest in it. As soon as it started snowing, you just knew it was over as a contest. Whereas I really wanted to watch the the Championship game and, not then have about two minutes of sleep before having to work on Monday. But obviously, because it was on the West Coast, it was never going to be that way around. And obviously, the NFC title game was the later of the two. So, yes, we all had to suffer on Monday morning. Boo.
Yeah. I suppose we do have to mention very quickly before we wrap up, there is an alleged football game this weekend. For those of you in the know, you'll know it's not worth bothering with. Lols. For those of you that don't know, it is the Pro Bowl. It used to be good once upon a time. It's now just basically hey, look at what we can do when we don't have to really worry about playing and winning and things. So there is a game. I certainly won't bother in because A, it's not very good, and B, I'll see enough clips of all sorts of stuff through social media. So there is that. Join us next week where myself, my glamorous co-host, will be maybe joined by others. There might be other faces here. And we will be getting into it. As far as bumper episodes are concerned, with one game to discuss, it's going to be a big one. We will be talking the ins and the outs, the stats. There's going to be plenty. A week's worth of stats. There's going to be a lot. We're going to be getting into who we think's going to win. That's the big one. And then we're going to get into the really deep dive into who's going to score first. Is there going to be a defensive touchdown? And the big question, what colour will the Gatorade be? I think we know. That's the big one. We don't care about who wins. It's what colour the Gatorade is. And everybody's favourite part of the year, what will Paul and Andy be eating Super Bowl night? My order's already in. I know that much. Because I like to be prepared for these things. So we'll get into the order. We'll get into the drinking order. That's also a big thing to talk about. And basically, by the time you listen to that podcast or watch it, you will be as prepared as possible. We will set you up with a betting slip of all the absolute bankers. Don't trust us in any way, shape, or form. I am cursed. I don't even want to show you my betting account. My word, I'm pretty sure I've ended people's careers by betting on them. So yeah, we will try to bring you absolutely everything and more. So join us next week. The week after will be the wrap up, and then we'll be putting our toys in the toy box and putting it away for you. So there we go. Thanks for joining us this week. He's going to say thank you. I'm going to say thank you. We're going to say bye, and we will catch you next week for the big one. See you then. Tatty bye.
Well, there we go. What do you think to that? Another one done, another one gone. Almost the last one of this season. Can you believe it? Wow. Who have you got down as winning? Not like Super Bowl rubbish. Who have you got down as winning the Pro Bowl? Come on. You know. Well, before you leave us, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button. That way you can get in touch with us. Drop your Super Bowl prediction in and we'll send you a prize. Can't say fairer than that. It's free. Right, that's it. Until next time, I'm going to say bye and I'll see you then.
Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode of Cookie Cast, please like, share and subscribe.